Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.
Hey, audience. How you doing today? My name is Jared A. I'm here on the Jared Cast with Mr. Jared L. How you doing today,
Hello.
Jared?
I am just dandy. I'm excited to talk about a beloved actor. We got some good stuff coming down the pipe, and it's always a good time being on here. So, how could I be bad?
I feel it. Yeah. Willem Dafoe is the topic of discussion today because it's Willem Dafoe. He's an absolute legend. He's been an absolute legend since the 80s, and he's only going to get better. I'm really excited to see him in The Northman, which is Robert Eggers' new movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about two very different performances by him, but both I think will go down as we'll see about Eternity's Gate, but one of them already is very iconic. The first one is as his performance at Eternity's Gate as Vincent van Gogh, the legendary painter, and then the next one is Spider-Man 2002. The original fun little blockbuster by Sam Raimi, where he plays Norman Osborn. Both movies, so this is my first viewing of At Eternity's Gate, and because I've been putting it off for the longest time. But Spider-Man I've seen like 11 or 12. I don't even know how many times. So this was a really fun episode to do. Yeah, I'm excited.
Same. But before we jump into it, we got a little top 5 that is completely irrelevant to both of the movies. Does not favor one over the other whatsoever. Pure coincidence.
Yes.
We're talking top 5 wrestling scenes.
We are.
In any movie. I'm excited, or TV, because I cheated again. Because it wouldn't be an episode of the Jared Cast if I wasn't a dirty little rat. And because I cheated, I'll let you kick things off with your number 5.
Okay, yeah. My number 5 is I stretched the rules a little bit because this is a hard one. This might be the hardest one that we've had to figure out. Not because some are hard to like eliminate ones, but this one was hard to just even find candidates.
Just think of 5, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a dirty little cheater.
You're a little degenerate.
Yep.
So my number 5 is an arm wrestling scene.
I knew you had one in there.
Because it's the arm wrestling scene in David Cronenberg's The Fly. I absolutely this movie is disgusting, and they're trying to be, and the whole movie, like, you're building to this incredible climactic sequence where the Brundlefly tries to attack our main character, but before that, you see this like really slow build up. Like, he's slowly starting to gain strength. He's slowly starting to lose empathy, and one of those key scenes is when he breaks a guy's arm open in a bar, just because he can, because the flies actually have a lot of super strength. Apparently, I don't know.
Got spindly little legs.
But yeah,
about the math on that one.
Yeah, I see it coming a mile away, and I still wince because it's David Cronenberg. It's gross as heck.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 5, we're kicking things off with the biggest of stretches in terms of what qualifies as a movie.
Okay.
And that's going to be season 2, episode 1 of The Real Bros of Simi Valley, when Zan proposes to Molly at a amateur wrestling show. It's the least romantic thing in the world, and it makes me laugh the entire time, and I love it a lot, so I'm including it.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'd say that works.
Yeah, it's still a wrestling scene. It's just barely a TV show.
True. The Real Bros of Simi Valley and what's that? Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith and the Jared Cast are the only things on Facebook Watch.
Yep.
Pretty much. My number 4 is a very beloved scene. It's actually it's one of the first ones that I thought of from The Princess Bride. It's when Wesley, who is at that point still the mysterious Dread Pirate Roberts, fighting Fezzik the Giant, Andre the Giant being a very famous wrestler at this point, and so it's really it's just really funny to see him getting choked out by the skinniest British dude. I really love it, and both actors are amazing in the movie, and it's just a charming movie, and it's one of the highlights of that movie as well. So, yeah.
That one slipped my mind, and I'm upset about it. Because this one was hard, because like there's random wrestling scenes like that where it's like not at all a wrestling related movie,
Right.
and they just all went over my head. But nonetheless, my number 4 is also a TV show. I put them at the bottom at least.
Good.
This one's a little racist. I'll be honest. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Well, Birds of War versus the Taliban in wrestling for the veterans.
What?
Yeah, Cricket dresses in brown face and is a heel that's called the Taliban. You get a great musical number. You
man.
get D getting hit with a chair. You get surprise visit by Frank as the trash man. I think it's the same episode as the Fight Milk, and so it's just a great, hilarious, very offensive scene.
Yeah, I need to finish It's Always Sunny because I've seen like a handful of episodes, so I know the
Yeah.
characters you're talking about.
Yeah, Cricket, the former priest,
The former priest, yeah.
the best character arc in TV history.
That's great. The one that I saw with him was when they were hunting him.
Dude, Cricket's the fucking best in that show.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, he plays the Taliban. The Taliban wins, and he's like shouting, and like he's doing some real racist, like oh no, and he's like fuck America, go Taliban. It's
Oh, no.
insane. I don't know why it was allowed, but I'm glad it was because it's hilarious.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, number 4.
My number 3 is not the is not nearly as racist, but it's also a wrestling match from the film Fighting with My Family. It's a biopic about the one of the WrestleMania divas, Paige, who comes from Britain, played by the super duper talented Florence Pugh. It's just a nice feel good movie, but I picked her specifically her WrestleMania debut. I think it's a really triumphant moment. It's a really nice moment. It's a good movie to watch just with your parents or with your siblings or just highly recommend.
Yeah, that was one that came up a lot when I was trying to find any wrestling scene that I had seen, and I haven't seen that movie. But it looked good, and I like Florence, so I'm down for it.
Yeah, Nick Frost is in it too.
Oh, okay, I'm sold. I'll watch it tonight. My number 3 is a movie that we both love, and so I thought it'd be a crossover. It may still be stealing one of your top 2. That's Nacho Libre. I'm
Yep.
doing the final fight with Ramsey. Yeah,
So
it's
good.
inspiring. It's hilarious. It's a great comeback. Everything about it is the best parts of that movie into one scene, and I love it. So it's my number 3. I won't say too much because I have a feeling we're going to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's my number 2. Everything about the all the wrestling matches are really good in the fight. I really also almost put 2 fights, one being this one and the other being the whatchamacallit, the free for all fight where it's like 8 different fighters going up against each other. But one thing that I really love about the last fight is the build up to it, where he has the
Yeah,
he has the
psych himself up.
yeah he has the prayer scene, which is nice. But then Ramses is getting his back massaged, and the guy's like just chanting at him, Ramses is number 1. His eyes are number 1. His lips are number 1. He's like putting on chapstick and shit. It's great. Yeah, I love that scene as well. And I agree. I think it's the best part about the movie.
Great. I have a feeling if I had to predict, I think we have the same number 1, but we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see when we get there. But we're not there yet because my number 2 is one we'll talk about. So I'll just put that on the back burner. Not only did I use 2 TV shows, I used one of the movies we're going to be talking about today. So
Nice.
put a little pin in that one.
Hell yeah. My number 1 is this is also only a wrestling scene by the furthest stretch of the term wrestling and whatever you think about that, because it's also an arm wrestling scene, but they don't even use a table. Of course, of course, I have to do the scene between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers in Predator.
That was not what I thought it was going to be there. All right, I see you.
These 2 manly men of the 80s, both well known for being absolutely shredded and super buff and sweaty and greasy throughout their careers, meet on screen, and they clasp hands in the most manly shot of all time, with two insanely buff arms coming together. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, just to show him up, decides to arm wrestle him in midair, and it's and it's absolutely beautiful. It's about friendship. It's about masculinity. It's everything that I love about everything that I love about cinema is in that scene. Yeah.
Insane that he held office. Have you seen the clip of him in like a bodybuilding documentary where he talks about coming for like 5 minutes? It's
No,
it's interesting.
I don't think I want to.
Yeah, because he compares the feeling of bodybuilding to that feeling. Anyways, my number 1 is a movie that we both love, and so I thought it was going to be yours. That's the Peanut Butter Falcon. The ending,
Oh my god!
the ending fight of Peanut Butter Falcon. I was wondering why it was completely missing from your list.
I just forgot the movie existed. Oh,
How?
no.
It's fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent
the
choice.
the emotional climax of the film. It's like genuinely a good and exciting fight. You get roller coaster of emotions throughout. And it's just fucking great from his introduction and his like walk up and he's like testing the ropes and shit. It's all wholesome and it's all fantastic and I love it so much.
Man. I'm disappointed with myself.
This was your me forgetting a pop star existed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. That was I love the Peanut Butter Falcon, and that's the real number 1 in cinematic history for sure.
Yeah, it's fucking perfect.
I also almost included like wrestling for the gun in Mad Max Fury Road, but I was like, there's enough Mad Max in my lists.
Anything to talk about Mad Max on the Jared cast.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. The That was our top five. Let's move on to At Eternity's Gate, which is a very somber film that doesn't have the same like highs and lows as wrestling.
Speaking of lows, we've got a low review.
Yep.
Cool.
Bad reviews.
This installment of Jared reads poorly written reviews because it's funny and it makes him laugh and stuff is coming from Mustafa Odabasi. He said it was an awful project.
Nice try.
Gave it a 1 out of 10. This one, I keep picking ones with bad grammar just because I hate myself. And so here we go. Moving camera idea in art film is failure. Musics are wretched. Scenario is basic primary level. Waste of time. I'm an admirer of Van Gogh. Many times I visit Amsterdam. I'm deeply researched his works. I had embarrassed in the name of Van Gogh. This movie is an insult to his art and his life. Real short one. 0 periods. Actually, no, that's not true. 2 periods. Anyways.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. Going to Amsterdam, being that big of a fanboy and walking away from this not liking it.
Yeah.
I don't get how that's possible.
This was a weird pick because I was listening to a different podcast, Stuff You Should Know. I guess shout out to them. Collaborate with us. And they were talking about like art mysteries. And one of them was a Van Gogh thing. And then like later that day you told me that we were talking about this. And I was like, oh shit, tight. A lot of Van Gogh in my life.
Was it the mystery about his suicide or about
Yeah.
yeah.
About his death.
his death? Yeah, it's interesting. This film kind of, it doesn't really build a case, but it does address that, and and the director Julian Schnabel, he definitely doesn't believe that it was a suicide. He
Yeah. I don't either. It doesn't like there's no way it was.
yeah, and so he, with like there was a theory that came out recently that it was a neighbor's child who shot him in the stomach on accident instead of Van Gogh, which from the stuff that you get in the movie, it absolutely makes sense. But that's not the whole point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is really to inhabit Vincent Van Gogh and to look at his life, his process, his work, and Van Gogh says in the film, or Willem Dafoe says in the film as Van Gogh, and Van Gogh says in real life as well, that I am my paintings. So a movie that inhabits Van Gogh has to function and has to move like a painting. And that's kind of where this style that our good friend Mustafa did not appreciate. Man, I'm kind of jealous that he went to Amsterdam that many times. And,
Yeah.
damn. So yeah, the movie gets kind of experimental in its structure and in its cinematography and its editing techniques. But I kind of grew up loving Vincent Van Gogh. My dad actually put me onto his work, and then in 8th grade we did a project where we had to copy one of his stuff using oil. But yeah, Van Gogh, Willem Dafoe, one of my favorite
Willem
actors of all
Van
time, was also a big fan of Van Gogh. That's why he said yes to this movie, and he even had the director teach him how to paint for the movie. He says in a direct quote, he's like, "There was no stunt painter. I would have to learn how to paint. Julian taught me so much, not just about painting, but about how to see things." I felt very alive making that movie. And so to prepare for the role, he studied painting, he studied nature, and he studied Vincent Van Gogh's letters to his brother. Um, yeah, that's just some background stuff, but I can get into my thoughts. I really love this movie. I think it's the top 3 performances by him, by Willem Dafoe, at least from what I've seen. And so, and I like the style. Sometimes there's this kind of weird the split focus camera that they use, and there were some shots where I was like, I kind of want to see the whole thing. I didn't want to see just half the shot, but I understand why they did it, and I like it. So I gave this movie a 7.89. No, I'll push it above an 8. I'll go 8.1 because I actually like the supporting. I like the supporting performances as well.
Yeah. I thought it was fantastic, honestly. We almost had matching scores this time. I wrote 8.2. So we just had to, we're just off.
Yeah.
Guess you're a fake fan. No, I liked it a lot. I liked that it captured his perspective super well.
Yeah.
They kind of leaned into the insanity kind of aspect of it a little hard, rather than like his more depressive side of his mental health, because he was crazy, like suicidal his entire life. And I feel like the film kind of captured his more madness than that. But they did still do a good job capturing both. Every actor in it is brilliant. They all absolutely kill it. The color is fucking amazing. I loved
Yeah.
it. Even when they do weird first person, it's like all yellow or something. I was
Yeah.
still into it. I liked the more experimental aspects of the production. The cinematography, I was kind of hit or miss on. Um, just I don't know. I think it would have benefited from having that shaky cam for like certain parts of it rather than the whole thing. Like maybe stabilize it when he's painting or at peace finally. I just think it would have been a little more beneficial for me. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I think it added a unique style that worked with the film. Um, Very well written, very well edited. It's a beautiful film. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I was really bummed to miss it in theaters.
Hmm.
And so like I've been putting off watching it on streaming just because I want like perfect conditions to see it. So I was happy to finally tackle it. What like stands out to you about Willem's performance in this versus the other roles that you've seen him in?
Um, he plays a little more subtlety in this one, and unless like he's having a big outburst, obviously. But like you compare it to like something like Green Goblin, like
Right.
it's a lot more nuanced and subtle, and even like the Lighthouse, he plays like a real exaggerated person, and I feel like most of the roles I've seen him in, he's super like exaggerated, even like Antichrist,
Hmm.
toward the end there, and so I think he played that nuance well, and it just seemed like a much different character than I've seen him play. Um, just like in general, like it's a
Yeah.
very like sad character, and I've never really seen Willem Dafoe sad. I think in a whole any movie. And so
Yeah.
it was just nice, refreshing. He had kind of like a childlike wonder. He is obviously like a little old for the role, but you look right past it because I think Van Gogh died when he was like 35. Am I
Yeah.
remember that right?
He's
But like
25 years older. than Van Gogh.
Yes. So you look right past it though. Like it's not even on your mind, especially because he looks just like a Van Gogh self-portrait. Like he just
Yeah.
has the same facial structure and everything, and so it really alleviates any like ill-fitting part of the film or for the role for him.
Yeah, I agree. I was tempted to pick other ones like the Boondock Saints, where he's equally over the top as Green Goblin, and he talks about that a little bit in because like Vanity Fair does this really cool thing where they have actors go through their entire career.
Yeah, it's
And,
tight.
and yeah, I watched his last night at like 2 a.m. and I'm like trying to remember it. But I remember he was talking about how he started out, and he was fired from Heaven's Gate, so he doesn't really count that, even though that's his first credit. But he was in The Loveless, where he plays a biker in Catherine Bigelow's directorial debut. And he was saying that he loves that. That's kind of where it started for him, because with Catherine Bigelow, she's an auteur, and so he likes working with directors who have something to say, and he likes specifically helping them. And so he said, to quote directly, he says, "I'm a color on a canvas, and I like that." And so I think something like Spider-Man, where he is he is both serious and silly, and that's because Sam Raimi is tackling the material in a way that's both serious and silly. And so I think I think that's one of the things that I like about him a lot, is that he's instantly recognizable to me just because the voice and the face and everything, but it doesn't really matter. Like, he fits absolutely into every single world that his director creates. Whether it's this or Platoon or I mentioned Boondock Saints earlier. That's another crazy one that he did. There was a firefight. That's my favorite quote in the 90s. It's great. Yeah, but I really think this is a super special performance by him. It's the only one that he's been nominated for Best Actor. And I also appreciate the writing in the movie. There was a quote in the beginning. He said, "When facing a landscape, I see nothing but eternity. Am I the only one to see it? Existence can't be without reason." And it's this great moment because you kind of cut to black. There are several sequences where it's just interrupted by his own thoughts, which I love. Love the editing in this movie. But even that early in the film, they're showing us how much he values life and how much joy he finds in focusing his mind on the eternal. And I really get that sense from not just the director with the editing, but also Willem, and the way he the way he prepped for the role was he painted a lot, but he also got out in nature, and he also he spent a lot of time observing observing the landscapes and stuff. And I think it shows in his portrayal of the character.
Yeah, absolutely. There was another line that I wrote down that kind of ties into exactly what you were saying, where he says, "God is nature and nature is beauty." Just along the exact same lines as the line that you wrote.
Yeah.
They do a great job bringing that wonder into you as well. Like the scene that comes to mind, which is also a scene where I thought of you because there's a super long dissolve in it. When he's when he's walking through the the dead sunflower field.
Yeah.
And then he goes greener and greener. And they just make the colors pop so much, and the angles they use make it seem so majestic, even though he's just in tall grass. Everything about it brings that beauty in those small details that he sees, and it makes the audience it forces them to see it. They're like, look, the world is beautiful, motherfucker. Like, this is why he was so inspired. And I think they did a great job at doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I love that scene as well. One that comes to mind to match what you're saying is when he's just like looking at the sky and it's like it's like just past golden hour and he's like rubbing the dirt on his face because he just loves it. Yeah, I think this movie's full of gems like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's complemented well with Oscar Isaac's character, who I was a
Yeah.
little iffy on. Like, he just seems kind of out of place in the world. Like, I don't know. It's kind of the point too, because he is a lot different than Van Gogh.
Mhm.
But him saying like, "Oh, why do you copy things? Like, why do you paint only what you see? Like, don't you have original ideas?" Blah blah blah. And he's like, "No, like I see the world in this way. I need to bring it out, and I need to show other people."
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. I loved the kind of duality between their two styles. It was tight.
Yeah, man. Gauguin's another great painter. I know I'm butchering his last name because I'm not French. But I think Oscar Isaac's a great scene partner for Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
I get this sense of like mutual respect and affection from them. But then there's also, especially in the scene where they fall out, there's this kind of helplessness that they both feel. And like I don't think Paul wants to leave, and I don't think and Vincent doesn't want him to leave, but they can't gel, and it's heartbreaking to see that.
yeah,
Because when you care about someone, you wanna stick around, but like if that's not the thing to do, you gotta get out of there. So, and they also didn't rehearse at all, which was which is insane to me. Yeah,
I mean, they're both incredibly talented, so it doesn't surprise me they pulled it off. But it's always surprising to hear.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And it makes sense considering like the coverage is so unconventional. Like there's so much, the camera moves kind of like a paintbrush. Like oftentimes you'll see the camera like just lying down on a surface, or you'll see the image as if the camera was lying down on a surface, and then you'll kind of feel the cameraman or the camera operator pick up the camera and move it. And it's like what? Like I was so surprised by it, but pleasantly surprised. I think it's a bold movement.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's such a hard thing to pull off. The like only other film that came to mind was like Children of Men,
Yeah.
where it kind of has like a mind of its own, and it'll just meander and look at something that's not the characters. It's just like in the world. And this kind of did the same thing, just primarily with nature. Like we'll be looking at Van Gogh walking, and then it'll just be like, oh, here's this like blade of grass that we're walking by, or like here's this tree that's super cool. Like
Nice.
they do the same thing, but for like much different reasons. But it works super well in both films.
Yeah, I agree. Any other things you want to talk about before favorite scenes?
Not really. No.
Cool.
No. Should I kick us off with some favorites?
Go for it.
I mentioned one of them, of him like walking through the dead sunflower seed scene. I titled it Jared's Wet Dream. That the conversation about what's her face, I don't remember the character's name, about painting flowers, where he's like, oh, if I paint them, they're eternal, they'll live forever. And she's like, oh, if you paint me, I'll be young forever. But I like it a lot for a line that comes later when he's like, I can make you even younger. And she's like, no, that wouldn't be fair. Like, that's not how I am. So it's not how I want to be remembered. And I just thought that was super cool because most people would be like, "Oh yeah, fuck me, fuck yeah, like make me skinny too." But she likes the honesty of his paintings. It's one of the few moments that he's like really understood, which is a very rare thing in this film and in his life. So it was nice to see that. The scene where he's getting judged by children and their teacher for painting roots was great and
Yeah.
super intense. The buildup is great. You feel as uncomfortable as he does in the whole situation. I love that scene a lot. It might even be my favorite. The scene where his brother visits in the mental hospital and they're like kind of laying down together is great. I love the extreme close-ups in this movie, and that scene has a lot of them. They'll like be just on like his eyes and the bridge of his nose, and it's fantastic. Or
Super good.
just his like head on his brother's shoulder. It's beautifully shot, and it's a real honest moment between two well-written characters, and so I loved that scene a lot. The fallout with oh, why can't I remember his name again? Oscar Isaac. I thought that like panic attack was cool. They do the weird audio thing that they do a lot in this film where like it'll be a voiceover of him recounting the conversation. And like as someone who's had triggered panic attacks based off like conversations that I'm in the middle of having, that was exactly how it felt like. Like you just replay it and you're like disoriented and you just like can't breathe. And they honestly nailed it. Like it was uncomfy because I've lived through that shit. And yeah, I also really liked the ending when he died. I like that they used like what he was quoted to say, which was "Don't blame anyone." Although he didn't say "I wanted to die," which was a big thing that he was like preaching as he was on his deathbed. He's like, "Don't blame anybody. I wanted to die. Like I did this." But instead, he just says, "Don't blame anyone." Which you get the whole message out of just that line. It's just more effective writing. But I liked that scene a lot as well.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I love all those scenes. I think it's interesting that like a lot of our favorite scenes are, you know, this is the Defoe show, but
Yeah.
it's the Defoe show faux show. But but a lot of them, a lot of our favorite scenes do like are his great chemistry with the entire supporting cast. You know, I also really love the scene of him and his brother in the hospital bed. I think that's so sweet, and it just speaks to like the level of fragility of this guy, like the fact that he has to hold on to his brother as if he was holding on to his mom.
Yeah. And you're kind of like unsure of the brother at times. And like it's moments like that. And when he comes back to the house and sees that his brother didn't sell any of his paintings for him, they really do care, even though he's kind of absent because he's got his own life.
Yeah.
It's just a nice reminder that Vincent had people to kind of lean on.
Yeah, definitely. Rupert Friend, very talented dude. And then also another favorite scene of mine is is the one Mads Mikkelsen scene. Of course, I got to shout out my boy.
You gotta. That would be a good person to do this again with, Mads Mikkelsen episode.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
indeed. But I love their conversation about faith. I think, you know, I don't want to call anybody out by name, but like I've had similar conversations with similar people about with similar, you know, because I am a Christian, but I don't write Christian stories, or I don't write stories that are straight out of the Bible. And I've had similar interactions where I would show someone a story that I wrote or a picture that I drew, and they were like, "This is not what someone of this faith should be expressing." And I'm like, well, actually, like, yeah, it is. And if you just look a little closer at the Bible, yeah. And so I thought it was not just really relatable, but like an angle of Van Gogh that like not a lot of people talk about. And so I'm happy that this film took the time to address it. And I think, and it's one of those one of the moments where I actually do really like that split focus point of view shot when he's when he's looking in the priest's eyes, but also like averting eye contact and stuff. I think it's really beautifully done, and it kind of shows this otherworldly maturity that Van Gogh had, like that he understood he was a man that was born in the wrong time, or that was painting in the wrong time, and he understood that he's. I think the direct quote was like something like, I'm painting for people who aren't born yet."
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like I got chills just up and down my spine. I don't know if you watch Doctor Who. There's, I don't watch it either, but my friend showed me like a handful of episodes. And there's one episode where they meet Vincent Van Gogh, and they like just as because he helps them out and because he's like such a good friend to the two main characters, they bring him forward in time to a museum that shows his work, and he like just breaks down, and he gets to see his stuff for the first time in it. And he's talking to the guy who's like in charge, who's like touring people through the exhibit. He's like, "What do you think about Van Gogh?" And he's like, "I think he's the greatest painter who ever lived." And it's like, it's so good. There's that scene. But I think my number one favorite is I forgot to write the actor's name down for who played the doctor, the nice doctor. But when he's talking in the dialogue between him and the doctor after he cuts his ear off, I think is so brilliant. It's a brilliant monologue by Willem Dafoe, and it's a great recreation of an iconic self-portrait with the bandage on his ear. It's a great image just on its own. It doesn't rely on the fact that we've seen that composition before. And I think it's a lot of people like to nerd out over how much of Van Gogh ears did he cut off and stuff like that, and like the mystery of that. But I think it's a great way of just tackling it and like getting into the nitty gritty of why that is. The last Defoe quote I got for this movie was about the director. He said he had a very particular way of telling this story that I knew wouldn't be a bullshit biopic. It would be an imagining of who we thought Vincent Van Gogh might be, and I think this is a perfect kind of bridge between that, like because most of what we know about him is through his letters and through his paintings, and that scene kind of brings together both. So yeah.
Yeah. I also it really makes me laugh. Like I also love that scene. But when he's like, "Ooh, take your bandage off," and I want to draw it, and he just draws a normal ear and puts a dotted line through it. I'm like, okay, you didn't need to make the guy take the bandage off for that.
Yeah. So weird.
Yeah, it just was a strange part of it, but I also really loved that scene as well.
Nice. Any other notes you got about At Eternity's Gate?
I don't believe so. I'll do a quick look through. I did. A lot of people were shitting on the music of the film when I was going for bad reviews, but I really liked it. I liked how kind of disjointed it was at times, but it was also real beautiful. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the last thing that I wanted to say that I didn't know.
I love that they like cut the music like in the middle of a phrase sometimes.
Yeah, they'll just
Super
like
cool.
in the middle of a note if they want to. Like it'll be like lingering or reverberating, and it'll just or sustaining was the word that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I'll just cut off and cut to black or something. It's ballsy, but it pays off.
Yeah, it's amazing. Cool. Well, you guys can check out At Eternity's Gate on Netflix. I know most of you have it, so there's no excuse. Yeah. Definitely worth watching if you're a fan of Van Gogh, if you're a fan of Willem Dafoe, like I've been for pretty much my whole life. Then this movie will resonate with you, I think.
Yeah. And now we're on to the greatest superhero movie ever made. Probably not.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man 2002, before we jump in.
Cool.
Bad reviews.
We've got another installment of Jared reads poorly written reviews because it's funny and makes him laugh and stuff.
Ooh.
This one comes from Red Girl. She says, crap in all caps, giving it a 1 out of 10. And she was nice enough to create a numbered list of 6 reasons why she hates this movie.
Good.
So number 1, predictable from start to finish. Oh my, will Spider-Man save the day? Number 2, trailer. Basically, saw the movie in the trailer. 3, dull, boring. Zzz. Number 4, casting. Okay. Defoe bad. Okay, I can deal with. Toby superhero. No. 5, special affects. If I see one more Matrix style fight scene, I will scream. Number 6, slow.
That's it? No concluding statement?
That's it. She just drops the mic at slow. Yeah. Anytime there's a numbered list, it immediately grabs my attention because it's almost always good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Those are great.
Yeah.
How dare they insult the brilliant and talented Tobey Maguire. You clowns.
They use 11 ellipses as well. I feel like
Oh
that's
my
worth
God.
pointing out. I don't know if my delivery accentuated them enough, but anyways, we're talking about Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man, the series that I grew up loving is in his Spider-Man series.
Mhm.
You've got an excellent cast, Tobey Maguire, which I'll say it, best Spider-Man. I'll say
I
it.
agree.
He's the best Spider-Man. I love it. We'll
Yeah.
get into it more, but I'm glad that that's not going to be a point of contention here. You also get obviously Willem Dafoe. We'll be talking about him, so we'll put him on the back burner as well. But you also got great performances by Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Just Kidding Simmons, even Rosemary Harris, Cliff Robertson for the first half of the film. It's a stellar cast for like what it is. It's a tacky early 2000s superhero movie. There's no denying that. You're not gonna get like the Dark Knight coming out of this. But for what it is, it's fucking fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It might be a lot of nostalgia for me why I love it so much. But you get great action sequences. You get like a good but kind of brief enough origin story for Spidey, which I like that we have enough Spider-Man origin stories. We'll say it. We got too many.
We have 6 in one movie, but it's
true. And so I don't know. I like that this one is fast. It's like, look, bit by spider, got powers. We're here now.
Yeah.
Like they kind of go right through it. And so I appreciated that for sure. You also get a compelling villain in William Dafoe. William the Foe.
Oh man.
Yeah, everything about it is just fun. It's kind of funny. It's not the funniest Spider-Man, we'll be honest, but it's great. It's fun. It's a great movie. I gave it an 8 out of 10. What'd you think?
You said 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went a little higher. I went 8.5, leading towards 8.7. But yeah, 8.5 I think is fair. I don't think it's no Spider-Man 2 2004.
That's
'Cause-
the best of the series for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, by far. But I think something that I love about all of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films is that it perfectly walks the line between silly and serious. So if anything, that makes it better than a lot of other Spider-Man movies because you're covering this super. You're covering all the bases of what Spider-Man comics are. You get a sense that Sam Raimi really understands the material, and so the movie itself exists as this really great, solid reminder of why I love Spider-Man. And I'll also get a little controversial. I don't just believe Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. I think the suit is the best live-action Spider-Man suit.
Yeah,
By far.
I agree.
I do love Amazing Spider-Man 2's suit because of the eyes, but this one, I just love the texture of it. I love the way the light bounces off of the raised webbing on his costume. I love the eyes
Also,
as
the
well.
fact that they don't bring up how he acquired such a complex suit. He just like draws it and then it exists. I
Yeah,
love
dude.
for some reason.
Yeah, dude. You don't need that. You don't need
No.
that bullshit. That's great. The movie like takes the time to like address themes of like transformation and fatherhood and what is a hero and what does being Spider-Man actually mean. And they don't have to do that. They have like when you have the bullying scene, when you have the go web go, like fly.
I
When
will
you-
say during that scene, I think it's like between the first two, they don't do the cuts yet. And so it's just him like obviously like ad-libbing the clearly wrong Spider-Man stuff. And it's so bad, but I love it so much. Because he's such a little fucking nerd boy. And
Yeah.
like he's supposed to be a fucking little nerd boy.
Yeah. Like the movie takes so much time to like show him to be like this really awful loser. And
Not
I
even
think
the nerds want to sit next to him on a bus.
forgot about that. Yeah, but they still take the time to address those themes. Most beautifully, I think, through Willem Dafoe's performance, and which we can get into later. But yeah, that's another thing that I love about the movie. Going back to the loser thing, like the other Spider-Men aren't losers enough. Like they
No.
and
Who the fuck's gonna believe Andrew Garfield gets bullied?
yeah, the biggest mistake of that movie in the screenplay was making Peter Parker cool. What made Marvel Comics great back in the day, and what makes them still great, is that these characters just keep getting kicked down no matter no matter what happens. They're dealing with financial problems. They're dealing with domestic problems, and I think this movie perfectly captures that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also got our topic, William. If I pull a Dennis Villeneuve on this episode and call him William, are we gonna get canceled?
It's technically his birth name, so you're good.
Yeah. We're here to talk about William. What do you think of him as kind of a side character / antagonist in this one? What makes him special?
I think what makes him special is exactly what the same thing that makes him special in every movie. He is the tool. He's like a perfect tool for an auteur director. He goes as crazy as Sam Raimi needs him to be, but he also has these really awesome like normal bad father moments that feel genuine and feel real. I think it's one of the best things about this film. I guess I can talk about like the things I don't like, but like some of the special effects don't hold up, like especially the grenade turning people into skeletons.
Yeah.
So
I
dumb.
always forget about that, but it's still there.
It's my least favorite part about the movie. I think MJ is pretty underwritten in this movie as well. I also think, like, especially with a 2021 lens, like, making out with her right after she almost gets sexually assaulted is like a little weird. Um, but yeah, like what keeps it above an 8 is Willem Dafoe's performance. The laughter, the fearlessness, the fact that he does and says so many crazy things and we don't question it. Like the way he chugs the serum in the beginning and smashes it to the floor like he's taking a shot in a Viking hall or something. Or the way he like when in the Thanksgiving scene when Aunt May slaps his hand and he glares at her and there's like menacing music. he licks his fingers slowly and then just smiles while sharpening the carving knife.
Just staring at her.
He doesn't break the eye contact at all. And it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Yeah.
I think the most psychopathic thing that him / Green Goblin does is just dig into Thanksgiving dinner with his fingers immediately. It's such an insane thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything I love about Defoe's performance in this can be summed up in a scene, which is also one of my favorites, but we'll get there. When he's like walking toward a mirror and like you see the Norman side and the Green Goblin side, and like clearly they did it in like a take, and then like did other takes too, but like you could tell even in just one take when he's switching back and forth, like it's seamless. It should be so tacky, especially in this movie. It should be the tackiest scene in the movie, but he's too fucking good and it just pays off. I love it. He plays both sides super well. The fact that he's a villain who doesn't want to be a villain, but he just has this like evil that's bubbling up in him is fantastic. And he just plays it so well.
I agree. And I think why it works so well for this movie is that it's his own arc that starts, like, even though they clash several times in the movie, it begins independently of Peter Parker's arc. And so there's these two very organic and very humanistic trajectories that end in this like brutal and unforgettable collision at the climax of the movie. We could talk about that later because I think it'll be in our favorites. But I think that's excellent work.
And you see that like they kind of are starting along similar paths,
Right.
and like one just kind of takes a left turn into villainhood. But like scenes like when he lets the robber go and he's like, oh, I forgot when the part where that was my problem. Like you see like a little bit of an evil side early on. And then obviously the death of Uncle Ben's rice empire kind of turns him all good.
What?
Yeah, I love It's sad that they had to shut down
Oh my God.
production after that. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I feel like I kind of just derailed all my own thoughts by talking about rice. You mentioned some things that you disliked. I'll do the same.
Go for it.
Yeah, Mary Jane, super underwritten. Like she does almost nothing. She has like no agency whatsoever. She kind of just there to be a pair of lips for a lot of the movie. And yeah, the as like feminist or equal this film gets is when one random citizen goes, maybe it's a woman. Like that's the only time there's any sort of like equality in this world.
Yeah.
But like that, I don't know, early 2000s, it's like movies just sucked at having any sort of strong female characters a lot of the time. Obviously there's exceptions. But I didn't like that. The CGI doesn't hold up. Some of it actually does pretty good. Like him climbing up
Yeah.
the wall for the first time looks pretty solid. You get some good stuff. But obviously, the more practical it was, the better it holds up.
Yeah.
Because the skeletons do not. I don't know why Macy Gray's here. I don't know why she shows up, and I don't know why MJ's wearing a kimono during it. Everything about it just feels weird. Um,
Yeah, that was the.
there's just like random set pieces that just feel super out of place.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Like I love the movie.
Yeah.
It's great. I will also say we're making a lot of bold claims on this. We've made claims of best spider suit, best Spider-Man. I'll also say Spider-Man has the best superhero video game franchise by far. Most consistent at least. Because like playing the games that were based off these movies, I was loving it as a kid. Like that shit
Yeah.
was fantastic.
They were
And they're
great.
still killing it. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. I guess now is a good time to talk about. Well, I'll save that for favorite scenes. I was gonna say now's a good time to talk about my number 2. We'll get there.
We'll get
I also
there.
feel obligated to point out Uncle Ben is killed by our favorite actor, Michael Papa John. He makes his return.
Wait,
The
that's
dude
Michael
from
Papa John?
Nightcrawler. That's Michael
What?
Papa John.
No way.
He plays the carjacker.
That's awesome. What?
Yeah,
I didn't even think of...
everybody's favorite actor. I feel obligated to point out anytime he's in a movie now.
Michael Papa John.
Yeah.
We should do a whole episode on him.
We should. We might be able to get him on.
Maybe. Yeah. There are so many actors that are just like here in the movie. Like Octavia Spencer is
Yeah, she's
Like,
just the
what?
check-in girl. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you here?
and I knew the line even as a little kid. I knew her one line.
Yeah.
She was like, down the hall to the right, may God be with you. And that was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Octavia Spencer, but I knew that
No.
line.
Because it's such a nothing role, but it's so funny to see what she became.
Yeah. There's also a couple cameos from, obviously there was Stan Lee, but Bruce
Probably
Campbell
the
has.
quickest Stan Lee cameo. He's in like
Yeah.
15 frames of the movie.
Yeah. But he has like 3 lines of dialogue in Spider-Man 3, so it
Yeah.
balances out, I think. But Bruce Campbell has a cameo as a different character in every installment of this franchise, which I love.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Lucy Lawless is in the sequels, but she plays a random New Yorker in this one, saying,
Mhm.
"A man with 8 hands sounds hot."
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, Macho Man Randy Savage.
yeah. Amazing. Boom saw.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
It's amazing.
It's so
It's
good.
amazing.
Everything he says is like amazing, and I love. He's always just like, "Oh, I'm gonna squash you like a bug."
Oh man. Do you have any Green Goblin quotes that you like?
Oh, did I write any down? It's not directly Green Goblin, but it's Norman.
Okay.
Where he's like, "Sorry, I'm late. Work was murder."
Is that Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, I love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's such an
there's-
iconic voice.
Yeah. I think that's the only one I wrote down, but there's a lot of great ones in there.
Yeah. I wrote a couple down. There's one that he repeats again in Spider-Man 2 when he's in Harry's head. When he's at first we attack his heart.
Yeah.
And I love that so much.
Mhm.
But my favorite, besides the one in my favorite scene, my favorite is when Spider-Man shows up to stop him from assaulting J. Jonah Jameson, and he just sprays him with gas. Sleep.
It's so good.
Yeah.
How in this world do they not know that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin? Like, literally the only person who would have access to this shit, and it's known by the military, is this motherfucker. They say it's like stolen briefly and kind of offhandedly.
Yeah.
No, it's very obvious. It even sounds like him. Like,
Yeah.
the only person to get the little pumped up vapor shit. Maybe
So
it's
good.
that guy. There's another great tacky Spider-Man quote, which I didn't pick up on as many times as I've seen this movie. Where there's like a little sexual innuendo when he's like changing and he's like flexing. At one point, like Aunt May says like, "Oh, is there change?" And he looks down. He's like, "Oh yeah, big change."
I totally forgot about that. That's
I
great.
didn't catch on to the sexual innuendo of it any time until now.
Oh man, that's so good.
Ew. We did favorite quotes. Should we do favorite scenes?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll let you kick us off.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's so many because this movie is very nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those movies that like made me fall in love with superheroes in the first place. So I love the scene of him. Jared already mentioned it, crawling up the wall. It's so cool, and the
Yeah.
like. What's his name? Alan Silvestri did the music, right? The music, like the bum, bum,
Yeah,
bum.
it's so
For-
good.
yeah,
Superhero movies always have like terrible scores, and that part's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love I love the scene of him trying to swing for the first time and it fails, and he hits the billboard, and it or it's that same scene actually. He hits the billboard, and the squeak that like when he falls down is so Looney Tunes. I love it. I love the ending. I think it's such a bold ending, especially for a superhero movie this early in the game. Of course, Blade came first, and you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it sometime on the podcast, like why that movie is one of the best early ones. But what I love about this ending is like, you know, it would have been so easy for them to say like, yeah, it works out for Spider-Man. Spider-Man lives happily ever after. But the whole essence of Spider-Man is that he doesn't get to do that. And so there's the final quote in the film, like, whatever life holds in store for me, I will never forget these words. With great power comes great responsibility. Oof. This is my gift, my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man. So the hero knows that the hero like knows that Spider-Man isn't a good thing for him to be. Like it isn't what he wants, but he still does it because he has this responsibility, because he's accepted the fact of because he's accepted Uncle Ben's advice, and because he accepts himself, and oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, it didn't need to be that good, but it was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I also love the final fight, but we'll also talk about that, I think, when you get to it.
Yeah, the wall climb and just like general power discovery, I love it. It's just super fun. You feel his enjoyment, and obviously the one that you mentioned, the great power comes great responsibility. Both so good. The wrestling scene is fantastic. It's so tacky. Everything about it is hilarious. The fact that it's a surprise cage match. Yeah, it's great. And the ensuing scene where like he doesn't stop the robber is also fantastic. I loved that a lot. The the burning building scene is also fantastic. you do get that slow motion Matrix dodging of like the Green Goblin's shuriken shit. But something about the Green Goblin pretending to be an old woman, he like turns around. That's just forever burned into my brain.
It's such a like a Power Ranger villain moment. Like,
Oh yeah, he looks. I literally wrote that down. I was like, he looks like a Power Ranger villain this entire film.
yeah,
The Thanksgiving scene's great. Even extending into him hiding in his room and like the drop of blood. Just the slow discovery of Peter being Spider-Man is fantastic. And then obviously the final scene, the final fight is just great. It's just great choreography. It's great fun. It's actually pretty well edited too.
yeah,
I like it a lot.
yeah. Like it's one of those moments where like I always take for granted how violent it is, because like it starts off with Peter getting hit with a grenade in the face. Like,
Yeah.
goodness gracious, dude. And they,
the like torn suit by the end of it's fucking fantastic.
yeah, dude. And the like the music is completely cut out. There's no score in this scene. And they're like, and when he's bringing the beat down on Peter, it's insane. And like you just hear him, you hear every hit and you feel it like in your chest. It's so good. And like he picks him up and then hits him even harder. It's great. And when the fight's like ending and Spider-Man rallies, there's this really awesome. They tie back again into that fatherhood theme. Like Norman kind of uses his status as a father as a weapon against him, where he's like, "Be like a son to me," and Peter counters by accepting Ben as his father finally, and he, yeah, I love that a lot.
And the conversation when Green Goblin like takes off his mask, he's like, "No, please don't hurt me." Just like seeing Peter struggle with that decision is fantastic.
It's amazing, and it's also like one of the best and probably one of the most gruesome supervillain deaths that I've ever seen. Accidentally stabbing himself in the abdomen. Like, jeez, dude. I love the little. It's such a Sam Raimi moment, but the little cut of him. Oh, before he dies, it's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I will, unless you have other favorite scenes or you want to talk about that more. I got some.
Go for it.
Some fun facts for you.
Ooh,
A little late, not a ton. I think because they changed his origin to where he actually like produces the web rather than as a web shooter. Is this the only Spider-Man series that does that?
in live action, I think so. Yeah, but in Ultimate Spider-Man comics, his webs are organic.
Gotcha. I like it a lot more. Like, why would you not? It's so much cooler.
Well, part of why the comics do it is because they wanna show that he's actually like a really like he's a genius level engineer. So yeah. But yeah, I like the organic webs as well. I like the look of them.
Yeah. Tobey Maguire, obviously not the only person up for the role. You've also got Colin Farrell, Heath Ledger, Ewan McGregor, Scott Speedman, and Wes Bentley were all in contention, which is crazy diverse. Like, imagine Heath Ledger being this nerdy ass Spider-Man, or even Ewan McGregor. Like, I don't know, Colin Farrell maybe, but it would have been a lot funnier of a movie.
Yeah. It would also be funnier for Colin Farrell to come back in a multiverse movie as Spider-Man.
True.
With an
Also
Irish accent.
for Green Goblin, we've been praising Willem Dafoe's performance. This one, I actually would have been down for any of these, but it was between him, Nick Cage, and John Malkovich.
Oh, Those are all
Which, like,
perfect.
yeah, that's all. Any one of those would fit. Nick Cage would be balls through the wall, though.
Yeah, he's too big for that suit.
Yeah. Some of the CGI actually, we were shitting on it, but it fooled studio executives, and they thought all the stunts were real, which is
Whoa.
insane to me. They're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, Toby, climb up this wall." Um,
Damn.
yeah. Several Spider-Man suits were stolen from production. They were
Good.
valued at 50,000 apiece, and police caught one of the guys who did it, and he had also stolen a $150,000 Batman costume prior to this. There's just a serial costume thief in Hollywood.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, and then also the World Trade Center was originally in the movie, but they cut out all shots of it after 9/11.
Yeah.
Which, oh, that's cool. I think, is the World Trade in the game? Because I thought it was, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't remember.
It's a lot. Why don't you remember this game that came out like 10 years ago? Or not even 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. That's all the fun facts I got for you. Is there anything
Yes.
else you would like to add to Spider-Man?
It's on Stars if you want to stream
Yeah.
it, but I actually found the entire trilogy on Blu-ray for like $3 a piece in this
Okay.
record store. So
Nice.
I was very happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, we also didn't compliment Just Kidding Simmons' performance.
Oh,
He's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fantastic. He's so good. I love it. He doesn't even show up for like an hour into this movie, but he's so memorable.
Yeah.
The first thing he does is hang up on his wife.
Oh man, I didn't write down any moments. I'm kind of sad, but
Yeah.
I love him as well. Oh, I noticed something. He could have sold out Peter in the beginning. Like he could have
Yeah.
revealed him, but he didn't. And I
Because he's
think
like,
there's
who takes these photos? And he's like, I don't know. We just get them in the mail.
yeah, like that was really surprising to me because I was like, when I was a little kid, I hated this character, or I didn't hate the character because he was funny, but
Yeah.
like
You
I
disliked him as a person.
yeah, I automatically just associate him with being a jerk, but that was an interesting little thing to see. Like I was like, oh wow, he's actually kind of he's not a terrible human being all the time. Like, and I think there's something interesting there. I don't remember if they explore it later on.
Yeah,
From what I
don't
remember,
know.
no.
I don't
He's
think,
just kind of
not
there
from
for
what I remember either, but it's
Yeah.
been a very long time.
yeah. Um,
Also,
Uh,
Doc Ock was supposed to be the villain in this one originally,
Mm.
but they like pushed him to number 2, which I liked. I think it fits how they got it going.
um,
Um,
especially because the transformation of Green Goblin directly paralleled with the transformation of Spider-Man. Like,
yeah, it works a lot better.
cool.
Anyway, that's Willem Dafoe. Love
Yeah,
him.
dude.
Talented boy. Renato's gonna shit himself with anger that we didn't talk about The Lighthouse.
Yeah, I was gonna pick The Lighthouse, but I was like, I wanted to pick something that was like super different from Spider-Man because,
Yeah.
yes, The Lighthouse is super different from Spider-Man, but it's the side of Willem Dafoe that you kind of expect. Like you expect the unhinged
Yeah.
persona that he brings to the screen. But I wanted to do something that like shows his full range.
Yeah. I was debating this or even Florida Project, but I didn't think he was in enough of the Florida Project to warrant picking it.
Yeah, there was that and Platoon too. Like he's in the first half of Platoon a lot, but I think no matter what movie you choose, he's gonna be great in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't, I don't know why you listen to this podcast, but go watch these movies. They're both fantastic. Even if you've never seen Spider-Man, take it with a grain of salt because it is early 2000s. But it's still a lot of fun, and so I think people could still enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. Cool.
See ya.
See. All right, people. Yeah. Follow the Jared Cast everywhere you can, everywhere you want to. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can also follow us on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. I'm a little bit more active on YouTube now, putting up our top 5s and top 3s as well as our full episodes. So go check those out as well. And yeah, we love you. Goodbye.